So soy, become the motor. Welcome folks to Los Angeles Spikeboarding. Here we are at Griffith Park, and it's the end of the day for us on a full day of shooting, and so we thought nothing better than to come to a small 20-minute climb using primarily the Cubillo stroke or the CXC stroke. You're going to see the stand-up spike stroke a little bit, but primarily about 98% of the time during this 20-minute video, you're going to see the Cubillo stroke, the one you're looking at right now. So if you're new to spikeboarding is a simplified form, there's a stand-up spike stroke, is a simplified form of cross-country roller skiing. So cross-country skiers, those who are in NCAA, Olympic, and World Cup activity, they roller ski 70% of their season. And when they do, they use ski poles with a spike tip exactly the same as you're seeing on that Sosoi skateboard spike. So never forget, spikeboarding is a simplified form of roller skiing, and the device used is called a skateboard spike. It's very similar to a ski pole all the way up to the handle. At the handle, it becomes very, very different because the device allows you to execute the Cubillo, as you see here, with great performance as well as a stand-up spike stroke. But we wanted to illustrate a very casual Cubillo climb here at Griffith Observatory in the park. And as you can see, we started down at the sign with the donated bear from Germany that you all in LA would probably recognize. A little fun bear. He was doing a little Cubillo there, as you saw. And waist down, what's occurred is something very similar to cross-country ski innovation 1986. So what occurred then was that skiers were diagonal striding and they began to skate. Waist down in 1985, they began to skate, and that became known as skate ski. There's a little inside Cubillo, and that's when the leg stays inside of the skateboard spike and you're able to switch legs and not have to switch arms. It's convenient for when you carry things and also for racing when you're a little jammed. It's not a very powerful stroke. So now you've seen all three strokes of spikeboarding, and getting back to the innovation. The innovation occurs mid-level in the body, at waist. So waist down, you're looking at what is known as switch kicking. So skateboarders have been switch kicking for a very, very, very long time. Not too many of them switch kick, however, for great distances. A great many of them switch kick to set up their tricks on vert and also in street. You don't find that many people doing long distance switch kicking. There's a few in the world, and you're looking at one athlete here who is amongst them. And then waist up, you're looking at cross country skiing that's been connected to the switch kick. And of course, that has happened for the very first time. And when you connect, there's the stand-up spike connected to the Cubillo. The rear foot is the point at which this can happen. So when you're at the front, it's not possible to do connectors between the two strokes because you won't be on your front side. But as we said, this is a very casual climb. We're not trying to set any speed records here. We've been out all day filming for Los Angeles Spikeboarding, and we've been filming all the way from Seal Beach into Santa Monica and a couple other places, and we just thought we'd finish here with this little casual climb. So spikeboarding is the development of strength, endurance, plus balance, plus full functional bilateral strength development, and hand-eye coordination. So you're essentially using just about every single mechanism and every single function that the body has, as well as you're controlling it all. So all this stuff needs to be studied by researchers. The cognitive development and the brain function, the neurology. None of this has ever been executed at very high performance. And of course, if you begin to do it, you'll understand how wonderful you feel and how good the cross training is for any activity that you're doing. So if you're out on cycles, you're developing a great deal of strength and endurance, but you're missing your balance. And the same with swimming. And of course, in swimming and cycling, you're also missing weight-bearing activity. So weight-bearing activity will be healthy for your bones. If you don't develop weight-bearing activity, you are at risk of getting osteoporosis. So this is a wonderful way to cross-country ski. Never forget, folks, this is cross-country skiing simplified. The sport, the mental state is that of a cross-country skier. You are an endurance athlete. There is no radical in spikeboarding, not downhill and not uphill, and there are no tricks. So there are techniques, and you're going to begin to see one here constantly, and that is one that we haven't spoken about, and that is a forward drift. From time to time, you're going to see how the foot from the rear drifts to the front, and that will occur when the speed is low. So when the speed is low and you're climbing, you're far better off drifting to the front of the board and dropping your foot into the rear. There was a forward drift, and that was kind of in between the speed at which you want to forward drift and not forward drift. If you're going too fast, it's not going to benefit you to forward drift. Drifting forward at speed is a little more challenging, and it's not that much more rewarding from a performance standpoint. So as you can see there, we're connecting the two strokes from the rear. The foot is at the rear, and that is when you're able to connect an SUS stroke to a CXC stroke. Also pay close attention to that upper body. Notice how the arms are staying at 90 degrees, a constant steady 90 degrees. I welcome you to go ahead and Google World Cup roller skiing, or even World Cup cross-country skiing, Olympic cross-country skiing, and you're going to see how the finest athletes, the fastest athletes, are maintaining their arms at 90 degrees and engaging the lats in the back and the core in the front. These smaller climbs aren't going to require that much compression in the legs. Compression means you're going to bend your legs down, and this is a relatively small and not too steep little lump, so you're not going to require too much compression when you're stand-up spiking. But again, we're sort of wanting to illustrate this Cubi cross stroke, and also how the connectors, the connecting stroke connects with the stand-up spike and the Cubi cross. So out we've popped around this first little fence, and that's when you can begin to see the sky and you begin to see Los Angeles in the distance. Not too much smog out today, so that's a good thing for us. So we pray for less and less smog in Los Angeles and more transport sport and more bike lanes to get around. Of course, we begin to teach this sport to kids, and then in 30 years time, 20 years time, give them a shower at work. We've really done quite a bit for the social design of any city or even the planet. So the idea is to teach recreation that becomes transportation. And of course, that switch kick that you're seeing, it begins on a scooter. So if you want to learn to switch kick, the best way to do it is on a scooter. And mom and dad, if you've got young kids on scooters, you want to get them to begin to switch kick. There's LA. You can really see her in the background there as we begin to rise the Griffith Park towards the Griffith Park Observatory. There's a little bit of crocodile pavement. It's not too bad for the board, but you want to be careful to not spike into those crevices too hard. Neurologically, you want to feel that you're on nice, good pavement before you give it the money and jam it in there, because you could blow out a spike tip. Spike tips are sharpened every 2 or 3 hours of use with a carbide file, and keeping them nice and sharp is what you want to do. And they are replaceable. They are the same carbide spike tip that roller skiers use, and you heat them up, you pop them off, you put a new one on. They can last 10 seconds or they could last 10 months. Really depends on what you're doing to them. Skateboard spikes and the carbide spike itself, they're very much like bicycle wheels. So bicycle wheels are designed to take incredible vertical loads, and they will last a good long time. When you start giving them lateral loads, they will last a very short time. And the same with the skateboard spikes. So skateboard spikes do break. They break off quite easily. If they get sucked into a wheel of a bicycle, they'll shear right off like butter. And if they get any lateral loads, they will snap really quickly, just like ski poles. So if you watch enough ski racing, you'll notice that there's always a coach running around with an extra ski pole, because if they take any lateral loads at all, they will just snap like toothpicks. But vertical loads, that's what they're made to do. That skateboard spike is about a pound plus, so it's insanely light. They could be made lighter. We didn't want to make them lighter because we didn't want to have any real issues in Gen 1. So skateboard spikes are insanely tough for vertical loads, and if you're using them how you're supposed to, they're not going to break. If you happen to break one, it's because you gave it a lateral load. So we keep climbing up here at Griffith Park Observatory, and vegetation, of course, is South Californian and wonderful. It looks beautiful here. Sadly, we lost our light on this last day of shooting, but still, it's your typical slightly overcast afternoon in Los Angeles, and that always makes for a calm, quiet climb. And as you can see, we're not foaming at the mouth here. We're just giving this little bit of a active rest sort of situation, and you can see how wonderfully well a board and 4 wheels will behave exactly like a roller ski. And for all of you MMA fighters and you wrestlers and you field sport athletes that need to remain at lower weights but increase your strength, spikeboarding is sensational cross training. So if you're a hockey player and you're 170 pounds and you're defending against 200 and 210 pound, 20 pound guys, you know that you can't just up your weight, because that's going to slow you down. So spikeboarding is going to increase your functional strength quite a bit, and it's going to cross train you with more fun than you have ever had. Now you might be questioning, how on earth are we going to get down from here? Now this is a small climb, so an Uber could get you down, but it's a bit annoying. What you want to do is you want to get a friend with a bicycle with disc brakes, and they will get you down. So our camera bike is what got us down, and our camera bike was outfitted with disc brakes, and just put your hand on the small of the back and gently get yourself down the mountain. Spikeboarding is not about sliding, and it's not about radical. And the Sosoi company is presently working with a few universities on developing a fully functional disc brake. It's going to be operated from the front of the board, and it will function very well at 40 miles an hour plus, and serve to have you behave exactly like a bicycle. So bicycles have brakes, they stay at the side of the road, and they comfortably mix in with all the other traffic. So as you can see, this climb has no big cruxes that are going to make you cry mommy and put a big hurting on you. We lived in LA, we would be doing this times 3. It's a 20-minute climb, so add the descent, it's going to be about 10 minutes or so, and you've got yourself a good 90-minute workout that is going to be activating your strength, your endurance, and your balance. And best of all, folks, pardon me, is going to be the core development. So the core is constantly engaged. That's what's driving everything here, and not the arms. So, and don't want to be driving with your arms, you want to be driving with your core and your lat constantly. Of course, it's skiing. And as you've probably seen, we're using all 4 positions for the feet. The left foot kicks from the front, the right foot kicks from the front, left foot kicks from the back, and the right foot kicks from the back. That's why we call it switch kicking. There's no other terminology that's going to describe this as well, because there is no dominant position when you develop in the sport of spikeboarding. There's the switch drift again. There's some more switch drifting. As it gets steep, switch drifting is going to help, and actually a drop deck is going to help quite a bit as well. But as you develop spikeboarding skill set, you're going to want to develop it perfectly symmetrical. The sport goes nowhere if you don't develop symmetry. And the reason that we imagine that symmetry is very challenging, some might imagine that it's challenging beyond ability is that we just don't see it. We simply do not see a great deal of people practicing symmetrical use of this noble device. If you saw thousands of people switch kicking symmetrically and spiking symmetrically, then you would also say, well, gee, that doesn't seem that out of the ordinary, and I'll be able to do it. And of course, I'm going to tell you that executing the sport of spikeboarding symmetrically is far less challenging than figure skating backwards and doing a C-cut, or hockey skating backwards and doing a C-cut, or even swimming butterfly. And those things are as common and routine in high school and college as any sport that there is. So spikeboarding is less challenging than learning to swim butterfly, and it's less challenging than learning to play hockey or figure skating or launching a triple axel, or I might even say pole vaulting. So those things are all more challenging, and of course we all know shooting par in golf is, well, that's about what 1% of all golfers do. So spikeboarding is not incredibly challenging. Spikeboarding will look the same when everybody executes it, the same as in swimming and the same as in cycling. Some people will be incredibly fast, and some people will not be that fast, but there will be no difference between the technical, stylistic way that you execute the sport. Up, 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 that's what we do in spikeboarding. We get a little excited there when we start to see the summit. So we're starting to see the summit, and we're going to see the Hollywood sign back here in the distance here in a minute. And for those of you who've never been up to Griffith Observatory and you're watching this from another city, definitely get to Los Angeles and make a point of coming here in the late afternoon. Is a really, really, really nice time to do it. The observatory is absolutely beautiful. It's pan flat up there, and the structure is gorgeous, but also just looking down onto the city and seeing Hollywood is really, really nice. And as you see, we haven't hammered this up at all. We've just casually climbed and gotten a really sensational full body workout and engaged our core the entire way. So imagine coming here to do a 1-hour workout and doing core straight out your door, and that's what the sport of balanced strength is all about. That is what spikeboarding is, the sport of balanced strength. You're using balance at the same time as strength, and of course endurance constantly, just like any triathlete or road racer or marathon runner or ski mountaineer or sky runner. So if you're big into sky running and you're big into ski-mo, guys, this is a fantastic sport to engage with on a daily basis. And of course, if you want to roller ski here, we encourage you to come roller ski. Roller ski is a phenomenal activity, and it's going to help you with cross-country skiing here in LA. You've got Rim Nordic Ski, 2-hour drive from you. Wow, 2 hours away, you have beautiful snow skiing with groomed trail. So this sport's going to help you quite a bit, the same as roller ski. And if you do want to get to roller ski, start with spikeboarding. You're going to have a blast, and then you can begin to chew off roller skiing, which is much more challenging. So roller skiing is tremendously challenging. You can cross your tips. Your skis are bound to your feet, and your poles are bound to your hands. There's nothing very casual about it, but it's incredibly rewarding. You've either learned to roller ski or you have not reached the maximum challenge of human propulsion on land, because going forward, roller ski is the hardest thing you can do. Going backwards, I'd say, is a C-cut. There's the Hollywood sign dancing around back there over on your left side, on the athlete's right side, and here we come, nice and gentle and slow. A bunch of people up here taking it easy. We're just, how slow can you go? And when there's people around, be cognizant of your gear and your spike and your tip. And here we come to the observatory, folks. We hope you've enjoyed this, and we encourage you to spike hard and spike often and spikeboarding. See you at the next one.